Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of my Stoic Circus. First episode producing live for the Breakout Social Audio app and YouTube. We've done my Stoic Circus on YouTube, but we're going to be distributing this in multiple places. So stay tuned for a great show today. Today, we're going to talk about busting your chops. That's right, busting your chops. What is that? That's kind of like when you call out your friends or your family or a significant other on either a lie, false representation, so on and so forth. So we're going to get into that in just a moment. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my Stoic Circus. Like I said, I'd be back, and I'm taking a revisit to the Breakout Social Audio app. My show is pretty much like a radio show, and that's what we're going to focus on going forward. So we're definitely going to make impacts. But what are we here to talk about today? We're going to talk about, the episode is really called Busting Your Chops. Now, what is that exactly? Whenever I hear someone saying I'm busting your chops, or they may say I'm busting your balls, that means I'm giving you a hard time on, you might be a little lucid, you might be kind of like not representing the thing, you may be bolstering something, may be taking place where you necessarily may not be representing the thing or the person correctly, or you're straight out lying. Well, I've seen all kinds of people talk about all kinds of things, and I see people constantly calling out their behavior. But when is it necessary and when is it not? Well, when I was reading my my Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday today, he was talking about, are you prepared for your bubble to be busted, right? And he quotes Seneca, and he says on his book on Conciliation of Helvia 5.4b, he says, no one is crushed by fortune unless they are first deceived by her. Those who aren't a pompous in good times don't have their bubbles busted with change. And against either circumstances or a stable person keeps the rational soul invincible, for precisely in the good times they prove their strength against adversity. Now, what does that actually mean? How do we bare bones that? Well, when people are talking about good and bad times, one thing I will definitely say is that how we actually portray ourselves within, to ourselves and to the community and to the loved ones that we have. We have to actually look at, how do we act privately, and also maybe sometimes even on the social audio apps. I think that's a very, very big thing, to so to speak. I think that it's something we cannot forget and look at, where is our bad behavior? Do we really want to act a certain way in front of one set of people, and then in regular life, we're really a quiet soul? Maybe we have so many gripes and conversations about how we would stand up to one, but then the actions don't follow through. And someone ends up saying, well, you know what? I got to call you out on your, excuse my French, but I'm going to call you out on your shit. I'm busting your chops. And I think that it's very important to really look at, how you want to proceed with that. Do you do it with love, or are you doing it with envy or jealousy? I think that there are many wisdoms, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the ancient Stoic writings, Buddhism, and all talks about control your behavior, control yourself, control the mindset. Think about how you mind your business before you mind others, so to speak. You are only control of yourself. And that's something that we, I think passively we kind of forget, but when we see things that cause shock and awe, which is constantly in the news or in the media, or maybe you're socializing with people, when you think about, really calling something out for what it is it for their benefit or yours? That's what I really think about. If I were to call out, matter of fact, this morning, I was in a social audio app, which I'm pretty much shifting back over into Breakout. I'm leaving Clubhouse, not as a mainstay. And the reason why is because the way that the platform performs now is not really conducive to what I want to produce. But it also made me think about the kind of quality of people that I want to associate and how I associate with them. I think it's very important that sometimes we have to do a reality check on ourselves. And when we do that reality check, what are we getting out of it? Because I see it so often, people are ready to reality check others. And we call that busting your chops, right? So when we look at how people behave themselves, whether private or whether they socially, they're either the loudest voice in the room or maybe they might be the quietest voice in the room. But they act a certain way in certain platforms, and then someone calls you out, and it's like then someone's going away with bad feelings. What if you like last night, I was here on Breakout and I happened to be in Carolyn Boyd's room, another speaker on Breakout, and a lot of us were talking about the transitions of what the platforms are doing and should we come back to Breakout? Yeah, Breakout's definitely had its issues, glitches and things, but is it still functional to our needs and to our wants, what we're familiar with? And I think that's very appropriate. And then someone decides to say, without releasing their name, they decide to say, well, I've been on this app before and I just don't know if I really want to be here. Well, was that something really to be appropriately addressed to a general crowd? Seems like a personal issue, right? Very strongly a personal issue. And what did I say? I happened to tell the people, I'm like, look, I told the person, I said, look, that old foregone conclusion, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say it. And they continued to respond and have a rapport with that. Well, and I'm like, no one wants to hear it. We're not here to talk about you. We're here to talk about the environment. What has changed? How do we want to behave? How do we want to use what's actually in place? And so for me, yeah, I was busting somebody's chops, but what did I gain out of it? I didn't really gain anything personally. And it kind of actually made me look a little bit more aggressive, so to speak. But sometimes there are just things and times where it's like, you got to stop the toxicity before it proceeds. And no matter what condition you are, whether you're sober, you're half awake, you're distressed, people will remember your worst behavior before your best, unless your best behavior was so world changing and socially impacting that they actually want to do something and say, yeah, that guy is, I don't know that person that way. I don't ever know them. Like, for example, I have a guest in listening in the audience. I know my guest, Michael. One thing I noticed about him, and he says, hey, I don't cuss. He's always, that's just my golden standard. I don't cuss. And I highly respect him for that. And there are other people that I've met and I'm like, oh man, I cuss like a sailor. Sorry, I've been a sailor, United States Navy. Thank you very much. But that doesn't mean that represents the Navy's behavior. But the phrase I cuss like a sailor, it's like it's because the amount of frustration that they constantly do and how they conduct their conversations, maybe by swear words to get it done and over with. Like, don't have time to fully explain or be emotionally sympathetic. And our conversations tend to get like that in the world. I've seen too many people say, well, let's get to the point. Or they promise things that they can't produce. They promote things that they aren't. And we get a little sour, we get a little bitter. And so some of us just stay quiet, like, okay, thanks, buddy. See you later. Have fun with that. Walk away. No, not even thoughts and forget it. And then other people are just like, they're so frustrated with other things in their lives that they kind of it builds up like a bubble, like a volcano ready to explode. It's like they've had their fill of recurring incidents. And when we look at that behavior, it's like emotional self-management. And at some point, enough pressure comes up and people blow. And then they say, nope, you're full of it, can't handle you. You name it, you have it. And then they do it. But then what's the aftermath like? And how do people receive how they're portrayed? It's like, no, you're not the prettiest girl on the block. I'm sorry. Your funnel cake tastes like raw flour. They're like, no, you quit promoting something that it's not really. Michael, good morning. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I will say you hit some good points, and you know, like this, you live and you learn. Um, you live and you learn who you can, I guess, in a sense, who you can tolerate, and you live and you learn who you cannot tolerate. Because those same exact words that you spoken, sometimes I have to check myself because sometimes I just want to, react at the moment, but I have to keep my cool, have to be calm, don't really show, uh, I guess, really don't show myself, and just, you know, keep to myself and stay quiet and just don't react at the moment. But maybe when the situation dies down, then that's when you can react. Because I will say, um, I do. I know you. Most of you guys know I'm very devoted to my belief system and etc. But I will say that I'm very when I have conflict with people, or if I don't really speak about it at the moment, I'll let it die down, and then I will think on that and basically ponder. Which I know pondering or thinking too much is not good, but in a sense, that's how I get my frustrations out. And when I'm frustrated about something, first of all, it shows the other people's true colors. That's how I look at it. And who they are is who they are. You can't change an individual and make them wanting to like you or being around your company. So I've learned to just move on with life. And regardless if a person does not, quote unquote, like me or not, that's up to their forte, but I'm not going to change who I am.
And I think that's really amazing, Michael, for so many reasons. It's a simple thing about maturity and how we conduct ourselves and how we conduct our behavior. And there are what I call nuclear environments where people are very intense. There is a sensitivity about an issue or a behavior or something that's taken place. But managing your own effects, managing your own internal dialogue, and it's just like it's not foreign to say that we lose our cool in different moments. There are some things like what do you know? Where do you know your greatest weaknesses are? And my greatest weakness is really probably my kids. You talk about my kids, like most parents, I'm gonna measure my thermometer and see how far it goes. And then I look at where's the dialogue going with that person? What is the movement of what they're saying? Are they clouding? How do you navigate through these spaces? And then it comes to a point where it's like, look, you know what? Let's set the BS aside. Let's really look at for what it is. You're saying something according to draw attention away from yourself and drawing attention on me. Maybe my behavior is bad at a moment, but should I be judged and leveraged for all time? Like I said, people will remember your worst before they'll remember your best. Unless your best is so often it's overwhelmingly and world renowned that it's just like, yeah, uh, the guy's good or the lady's good. Understanding your own behavior, understanding your own triggers is a big thing you know, the Stoics train on it, the Buddhists train on it, and there are Christians and Catholics and many theologies and belief systems that train on know thyself to be true. Know yourself before others get to know you. And in a world where we deal with constant um, emotional approval. We pander our position, our expertise, or what we do, our labels, to be approved by people. And then there's just some people who are just like, look, I'm humble enough. Maybe I'm just a dishwasher. Maybe I'm just an accountant, or I'm a doctor, or I'm a lawyer. I'm a physician's assistant. That's all I do. I don't know about anything else, and I just stay in my lane. Some people just do that, and they do it very well, and that's fine. And I'm happy for those people. But then there are reactive people who are frustrated, not maybe having their needs met or getting opportunities that they've always wanted, whatever the means may be. The point is looking at actually in the moment, do you want to be like lava or not? Or do you want to be like water? Sometimes, yeah, I'm in a fit of rage. I'm frustrated. I don't want to hear it. And a lot of times when I'm pissed off, I'm going to really say it. I go into my own little cave. That's right. I go into my own little cave. Leave me alone. And it's really hard, especially if you have a spouse or if you have a partner and it's like you want to be just left alone. Has nothing to do with them, but it's like, dude, it's like tickling a wounded bear. Don't do it. You're gonna get bit, you know? And but it's like, how do you restrain yourself? Or say, like, if you're a parent like me and you have kids, you can't just lose your cool over anything. And when you show people how you lose your cool in front of others, it also shows your social weakness. Like, say enough things, remind you of your temper, and see how you react. And Michael, I really appreciate what you explained. Caroline and Alton, welcome to the show. And anything you guys would care to add? Really the show is called Busting Your Chops. Have you ever had to just like straight out call something and you just couldn't control yourself? That's really a question for the whole room, I would say.
Good morning, Jason. Good
Yes,
morning,
ma'am. Good morning.
Alton. Looks like Michael left.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
I,
okay.
I love this topic. I really do. I think that it's just human nature that if somebody throws a left punch at you, you're going to want to throw a right punch right back at them. And uh, it's dependent on the situation, I think.
Hmm.
Like if you've had things building up with that person, if you have a relationship with them, and then something's going to happen that's just going to kind of like break the camel's back, and you're just going to go ahead and throw that punch out. And, you asked if we do call someone out, is it for their benefit or is it for ours? I I'm leaning on thinking it's for our benefit if we do. But I think it's a little both. But at the same
Hmm.
time, if if you do throw a punch, at someone, and you feel bad about it, I think it's worth thinking about it and reaching out to the person and apologizing.
Mm.
See, I'm different in that aspect because, for number one, I'm gonna hold I'm gonna hold it. I'm gonna hold it to myself. I'm gonna not even if I see the elephant in the room, I'm not coming where you are. I'm gonna avoid you at all costs because I already know what's gonna come out of my mouth. I already know. And like I've already said, you guys know I'm all about my faith and everything, but I have another, I guess I'll say, I have another side to myself that most people probably don't want to see, which if I let that be known, okay, when I react, when I blow up, don't be surprised because it's not the first time and it won't be the last. So I rather people just call the snake out for what it is and call the horse out for what it is and let it come out the horse's mouth and let it be so. That's all I'm saying. But most people, they can't even do that. They can't even personally come to you and say, "Oh, so and so. Oh, I meant to do X, Y, Z." No, they knew what they was doing. So, like I tell people, I ain't tripping. You don't like me. I ain't got to be in your elephant room.
I like that. And that is a lot of self-regulation. And um, I think that people that have strong belief systems, whether you're a Christian, Muslim, or you're Buddhist, whatever, and they really spent a lot of practice hours to know thyself to be true, to control yourself, because you can't train yourself to be good in the best of times. Not to truly, you have to train yourself in the worst of times and the best of times, and sometimes the in between, the nominal. You got to keep your training always consistent across the board. And that's where, personal acceptance is the highest respect you can give to yourself. And I do like what Caroline said. It is both, really. There's times where it's for their benefit, our benefit. And then there's just straight out like, look, I'm just sick of your blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to watch my language, you know.
Yes.
You're trying to
You know,
watch your own garbage before you comes out of your mouth, because once you say certain, you ever get so frustrated at something that you say that one thing, and especially if it's somebody you care about, you say that one thing and that person will remember what you exactly said for all time. Some people do not let things
yeah,
go. They don't.
no,
Yes,
no,
you're
they
right.
don't. You right. And see, that's me. Like I'm I I call somebody out on their crazy stuff, because you're not about to beat around no bush and pretend like, oh, we got everything all together, oh, we cool, and oh, heck, mm, let me just, I'm not gonna say what I was about to say, cause but y'all know what I mean. You don't portray who you truly are. And to show yourself to be friendly, you gotta be friendly. If you ain't, then people gonna look like you at you like you boo boo the fool. Okay? You want people to look at you like that? Okay, well then there's the elephant.
Mm-hmm. A matter of fact, something exactly happened the other night. I was walking with my partner and my daughter out for an evening walk after dinner, and my partner, my lady, saw me in distress. She saw me in mental distress. I was triggered by somebody earlier in the day, and we walked about a mile maybe or so, just kind of like things calm down. And we're walking on the sidewalk, and I see this guy on this bicycle, right? And I'm like, my daughter's pushing her scooter, and then my girl's like trying to guide her to the side so this guy gets by. And for whatever reason, I was already ticked off. I was already triggered. And I'm like, no, get on the street. You ride that bike on the street. I didn't care. And my partner really called me out on the moment. She's like, quit being an asshole. Excuse my language. Straight up. I can't believe you're being that guy right now. What's wrong with you? And it was like, and what happened was, it was a buildup. It was a buildup of frustrations, buildup. I was triggered by somebody else who I know who is mentally sick and trying to bother my time. I was also irritated early in the day that I almost got killed on the road. Those fast and furious drivers, they don't signal or nothing. They just zoom in and out.
Right.
Well, I literally, my car was like maybe 5 inches from being clipped early in the day, and where it would have been clipped at would have caused me to spin out, and I would have been slammed into by some semi trucks and scared the crap out of me. But that same thing has happened even last Sunday. I'm in my car with my family going to San Francisco, saying almost the same thing. And I'm just like, I'm not going to tolerate these people. Whether you're on a bike in a car and you put I'm not, my daughter really wasn't in that much danger, but I was calling it out ahead of time before you even get crossed and think you're just gonna ride right through us and we're just gonna let you by. Oh, hell no. The demon in me really wanted to come out. It was literally saying,
Oh,
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 you just done messed up, boy. I'm gonna lay you out. Lay you out.
oh, wait.
that was little devil in Jason. He was like not wanting to
You know,
tolerate that, right?
oh, oh, Jason, bro, like you walking all over where I'm at right now at this point,
But the
and
thing
it,
is, but what ended up happening, she was so mad. She looked at me with some hard stare, and it was that like, get out, just get out of the house right now, just go, just take off. I don't want to deal with you. I don't want to see you. You just embarrassed the hell out of me. Now, I may have been calling it out right initially, but I was wrong. I was like, you know what? What hurts? It's no one's out walking around and riding around, just us. And then we see one bike. I could have sure stepped aside, but I was fed up. It's not an excuse, but it was a measure of my own temper, my own temperament. And then it just like, you have one of those days where it's like, people irritate the hell out of you. And you're like, no, this is something I have control of. You're
Oh
not gonna hurt my kid because you're being stupid riding on the sidewalk. You can ride on the street, no one's driving. And
right.
but who's the right or wrong? I was the wrong because I let my temper get the best of me. I was wrong.
Exactly. And it's crazy that you say that because like I and it's nobody on here. It's mainly the people. Well, it's not
No, we're all
people,
people.
but
We're all people.
it's a it's no people on Breakout. It's people that I go to church with. And I'm trying to figure out like how do you deal with people who unfortunately they didn't invite you to this gathering, so then you're like the uncommon, and then on top of that it's like people will say, oh well, where's Mike, why come he didn't come to X, Y, and Z? Well, I already got issues with people, and I don't want to make them no better than they are. Okay, like I tell most people, I rather just stay to myself. Let me do what I do. I don't need nobody up in my face saying what's wrong with you, bro. You know, joking around with me because when I'm mad, I don't I don't like to be around people. I don't like to be around people. I don't want people around me because I might say something you might not like, and it's not gonna be God bless you. It's gonna be more than a God bless you. So I rather you just stay away. Let me cool or chill out or whatever. But I'm not about to be in this person. They're like, oh, are we cool? Are we? Yeah, I can do the fake too. I know how to do the fake real well. People, it's just people in general. People don't know how they affect you, or what emotions they got going on. Personally, I'm just like, you know what? I ain't got time for it. You know, I'm a grown person. I can do whatever I want to do. If I say, well, this Sunday I'm not going to church, you can't say, oh, you're a horrible person because you don't go, or because I quote unquote go visit some other friends and say, well, you should do X, Y, Z. Okay, like I make my own decisions. You know, there's nobody over my head. Oh, don't do this. Don't do like what? No. So I'm
So
learning with it's not even with the worldly people. It's with the people that you go to if any of you go to church. It's even with the people in the churches that we all go to. If you guys go to church, there's gonna be clashes, or as I like to call them, cult groups within your congregation. Oh, I don't want to associate with this person. Oh, they done this. Oh, I don't want to associate with that person. Oh, they hang out with so and so.
well,
Well,
to
it's in the church
to
too.
wrap up your point,
So
Michael, I appreciate what you're saying. And that's also a social self-regulation. It doesn't matter, and here's one thing, I think that we need to stop being moral police. Really, in reality, it doesn't matter whether it's a disturbance between a one-on-one or a group, but it's like the more that we try to moralize how people need to behave instead of invite them to a better behavior, which is quite different when we invite, hey, you know what? I noticed you're having a really tough time. Like
yeah,
when you know your peoples, and you just go up saying, is there anything I can do to be of service? Is there anything that I can personally can do to help you? Because a lot of people don't. Like they don't want to. There are many people who do not want to help each other out, but they also wonder why that their prosperity doesn't
no,
sustain themselves, why they don't really go forward socially, like why people don't want to greet them, and one thing I will say is like I can act really good a lot of times, but it's my slip ups that cost me. But then again, I measure myself to the standards I live with and I understand, and I try to elevate. I don't try to make myself better than anyone else. I've had people like straight out throw some shade in front of my face and behind my back, and I'm like, "Thank you for letting me know who you are." You know,
Exactly. Hello.
I'm the same way.
Hello.
Like you tell me like, "Hey, I'm a piece of blah blah blah, and I'm a bottom of the trash can with maggots." Okay, thank you. And what else are you
And you
telling?
know it's
And then what else
and
are
you
you
know
telling
it's
me? Hold on, Mike. But what else are you telling me? You're telling me things that you observe and you're showing me your character. Now, is that a temporary flaw or is it something you've always been? And it's like, you know what? People keep receipts. That's the thing is we keep receipts unknowing and knowing.
that's true.
And when we look at the kind of receipts you want to live with, that's why morality, like when you have faith systems, you have religions who will tell you to put strict discipline on yourself to humble you because you ain't all that. And somebody else has done the same thing you did, whether it's 5 years ago, 2 months ago, or 5,000 years ago. Somebody behaved the same way you did. So this is not something you just invented isolating to yourself. Sorry, this is not most of the problems we deal with nowadays are not problems that no one else has ever dealt with before, unless you're designing a space
Exactly.
rocket or you're designing like a space station. I don't know anything about that, so that'd be something different. But the thing is like when we call each other out, are you doing it with care or frustration? You know, there are times where I am frustrated and I'm letting you know, like, matter of fact, I got into it with a particular someone this one. So why did you behave that way? Why? Why did you say anything? No one was asking you to open your mouth and tell you how discontent you were about a platform you're on right now. You could have just like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to say anything and just bow out. But I also called him out on something else. I said, whenever you want to divert a conversation that you don't like the way that the pathway of the conversation is going, what do? You talk about food, you talk about other things, you make it about yourself because you don't like what other people are talking about. You feel insecure. And so
Right.
when we bust those people's chops and saying, "Look, I'm inviting you to be a better way," but what you did was embarrassing. I don't want to see you embarrass yourself. I want to see you do better. I want to see you elevate. When we as people, and it doesn't matter where you come from, man or woman, it doesn't matter what faith, what color skin you are. It only matters if you really want things to progress in life. You've got to be willing to take the right steps with those people, walk with them. You know, there's a saying, if I'm walking in front of you, I'm protecting you. If I'm walking beside you, you know, I'm with you in partnership. If I'm if you're walking ahead of me, you're leading me. So there's these old things, and it's just like, who do you walk with? Who do you want to work with? Do you want to work with aggressive people? I don't. Do you want to be working with somebody who's emotionally unsound all the time? I don't. But then there are times, yeah, we don't know what you deal with privately. That's the real, I guess, the premise of this show is when people are being called out and they get frustrated and they call things out on each other and they're frustrated with your behavior, or maybe what if it's your country? What's a false perception of it happens all over the world. Like the last time I traveled abroad and I told people like, yeah, I'm a US citizen. Yeah, no, I speak English because obviously they could tell. And immediately the hate came out like, do you realize what you've done? And I'm like, what did I do? And it's like, I'm not paying for the sins of others. No, but what you support, well, we don't always agree. That's the thing is we don't always agree about how things, who leads us. I don't always agree with the leading decisions. So it's really comes down to, you know, how you unload and decompress. I think that's the big impression, Michael, is how you were saying it earlier. I need to go and be somewhere else and decompress in another way. I don't want people to see my worst because it's the devil coming out. It could be the beast. It could be like a tiger, and it's very vicious and it's very savage, and we're human beings. And the older we get, I think that we take it less personal, you know. Like my grandparents were a lot more patient than I am. I'm a fireball at times, you know. So, anyone else care to comment? I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name. Sana, is that right? Welcome to the show. And also, Alton, do you have anything you guys would care to get? I know some of you added late, but that's okay. The premise is when do you call someone out? You know, um, when do you call somebody out on their false representations or lies or bad behavior? And when do you not? When do you leave it alone? Maybe they're just having a bad day. To me, it's determined by how well I know you. If you're a stranger and I know I'm not going to see you, more likely I don't have to say anything, you know. But if I seen, say, like a woman being beaten up on the street and I'm a very well capable man, I'm going to stop that. I have done that, and it can get you in trouble, but still, the mic is open to anyone who care to answer. Okay.
I'll
I
say
have something.
something. Oh, go
Go ahead.
ahead.
Well, good morning to everyone. Glad to see you, Jason and Karen, Caroline, Brother Michael, and our visitor on the stage. So I love what you was talking about. I have this slogan. It's called BCCC: balance, control, confidence, and the last one is balance, control, and confidence. BCC. So can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I was listening to you earlier. You was talking about, you need a balance. And this thing where I said the BCC, I would tell people, take out a coin, a dime, a nickel, a penny, or a quarter, or 50 cents piece. And basically you're gonna try to balance it. But that coin that you balancing is you. And you literally got to balance yourself every day. You can't be too much of this, you can't be too much of that, but you gotta be just balanced just correctly, because if you're giving off too much, then you won't be able to control your actions, control your emotions, control who you are, because you're literally tipping over. I love when you were saying that, that sometimes like you said, that we can lose our cool. But the thing is, you have to make sure that we realign ourselves back on a place that we are lining back up, that is firmly, that basically, we won't act out of anger
Mm-hmm.
and cause someone to be hurt, or act out of pride and basically thinking that, hey, I'm the show. I'm Mr. Big Shot. Look at me. But control your emotions. And then the last thing is, have confidence. The reason I say the BCC, because if you can balance yourself, you can control your emotions. And if
Mm-hmm.
you can control yourself, then you can have confidence. And the last C is character. So then you can have the right character when you show up on the scene.
I like that a lot, and and aligns with the Stoic virtues, and virtues are very important. I would have to say, because what virtues are the character life scripts, and what they are. I'll say them real quickly. They're the courage, the wisdom. That means the experience and the things that you understand that you can interpret and do. It's the justice, which gets really kind of, let's just say, justice is not something easy, because people constantly discern on it. But what I will say also is the last one is temperance, and temperance is the patience. The temperance is the understanding in your error, in your behavior, in your code, in your living. And when you have those four things in place, you've got to constantly rehearse and practice them over and over. And that's why I said you just can't practice them when things are good. You got to practice them when times are bad, when you're being tested. Sometimes I say to myself, good Lord, help me for what I'm about to say, because I am going to let excuse my language, but an ass whooping out on this one. Oh, yeah. And what it takes away is like, who is it for? Who gains? Nobody gains. What I thought, and that's where the justice comes right back into play. It's like, well, maybe the justice really wasn't as appropriate as I thought it was. And now I'm the tyrant, or I'm the bully. You have to be able to really see. It's hard to see in the moment when emotions are high what your possible outcomes can be. But if you look back in your experience of your behavior, you face something similar and probably similar circumstances. And those kinds of outcomes really determine how you're going to be, unless you train on it. Me, I'm trying to train on, look, I'm getting rid of toxic people out of my life. There's a few toxic people that I'm just going to straight out say, like, look, you know what? Have fun. Have a nice day. I've had enough. Can't handle you. I want the best for you. But what you're doing, your behavior is enough is enough. And that's tough, especially when you care about people. When you care about people, and you want to see them best, you can only carry the burden with them for so long before you just need to drop it, and when I think about, like, for example, the near and dear friend, what my girl even called me, she's all, why it pissed you off so much? And I go, why is that? And she goes, because he's like a mirror image of you. The only difference is that you're willing to do some work and he is not. That's the only difference. You're purposely, I see you trying to change and improve yourself and step up and be a better man. But by you getting mad is taking you right back where he's been, and that's the hard part, is like, when your partner is telling you and saying, like, look, here's your skeleton, here's the mirror, here's his. You guys are a lot alike. You want to get angry a little bit, you want to get frustrated, but the reality is you got to, like, say, nah, I've got to do something better. And that means I understand in the moment, my bad. And this is where it comes down. And before I'm getting ready to wrap up the show, where apologies come and are appropriate. When you apologize, this is something I learned. I forget who I learned this from, but when you apologize, say it with the intent to never offend again. That's the big deal. If you apologize and you make amends with anybody for whatever behavior has been conducted, make a mental note that when you're about to say, my sincerest apologies, I'm sorry, that you will never commit to that behavior again, or don't say anything at all. Or you can say, I stand corrected. I want to learn from the situation. If more people really took it seriously and saying, I can learn from my living experience, whether when I was 15 or whether I was 40 or now 50, if I can take all that, I'm 50 years old, take all that experience and have it in my own written book, my own written rules to make my behavior and shape me better, then I'm doing a really good job. And I think that's where we also don't forget to pat yourself on the back that you've managed to stay out of sticky situations. Maybe idle gossip is, it's like, once you get into it, I notice when I get into gossip circles, I can be just one of the guys too, very easily. But I know that also costs me, because if I conduct it too long, I am just the same as the offenders. So that's it. Anyone else care to add? Caroline, did you want to say something earlier? I'm sorry, I don't want to be rude or anything, but do you want to add anything before I close out?
Thank you. No, I was just going to make a suggestion. When you do these rooms, I do understand we have to keep it short because you are recording a show. But I wish something you would think about would be, after you close your shows, for those of us that are on Breakout, to open like a post room show where we could talk about things a little further.
You know what? I can do that. Not today, unfortunately, because it's 8:39 a.m. and I've got to get to work shortly but surely. So um, but we can do post talks. You can always open up rooms. I mean, this is a recorded room and I'm gonna post the recording and open it for all to listen. I'm gonna make a recommitment to breakout. Like I said, I'd like my show to be like a radio style, and I would like people to learn and talk and benefit in so many different ways. Um, my time on breakout will be probably increased. I'm going to figure out a regular schedule, so I'll probably be on here 2 mornings out of the week for sure, um, and come up with a dialogue, post a calendar on here. But I'm also recording live on YouTube, so you can find me on 72 the Architect, all one word. um, that's my screen name, or you can type up my Stoic Circus and I'll be searchable that way. So I'm producing live on YouTube so people can be able to find me. But I'm going to really start working on connecting all the social medias, making a recommitment to breakout. That room last night, Caroline with Cody, really sorted out a lot of things, and it's causing me to reinvest. Sometimes you have to take a break and just come back and do something better. Give it some time. So yeah. Anything else from anyone else in the audience? If you want to say something, I don't know if I've read everybody's message. Let me look real quick. Oh, just one. It's just Michael's. Anyhow, give me a follow. For those who don't know me, Patricia, Abu, Nisa Amor, um, anyone who's new to Breakout or been on here, I'm going to be on a regular show. So if you have any questions, add, and then also follow my tribe, my Stoic Circus. That's will be able to find updates about what's going on. All right, y'all. I hope you all have a great day. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your evening, whatever you're doing in your part of the world. I'm out. Have a great one. Okay, everybody on YouTube, I'm now going to be exiting out. You all take care. We'll see you next time. All right. Let's see. Oh, I didn't close it in time, didn't it?